The Judicial Tribunal into the conduct of Western Cape Judge President Judge Hlophe is underway. Judge Johann Kriegler is accused of trying to influence the outcome of cases relating to corruption charges against former President Jacob Zuma. The complaint was brought by Justices Dikgang Moseneke, Blessing Kabinda and Justice Chris Jafta. Joining us is Judge Johann Kriegler, retired Constitutional Court Justice, to give us a sense of what would be expected in this matter. A very good morning to you. Thank you for your time. We are finally getting to hear on this matter after more than a decade. It seems that there is some movement. What are some of your expectations ahead of this process as it gets underway?
Well, at last it's got underway. As you said, it's more than a decade. It's 12.5 years. It's tragic that Judge Hlophe has been left on the bench this long without this matter being resolved. We trust that over the course of the next 5 days, the matter will be thoroughly thrashed out, and we will at last be privileged to hear why Judge Johann Hlophe thought it necessary to go and talk to 2 judges of the Constitutional Court about a case that had absolutely nothing to do with him, but in fact was vital to a particular political grouping in the country, and why he picked the 2 junior members of the tribunal. We look forward to hearing him saying why he did so and having him being questioned on his motives in that regard.
Throughout this time, the court battles were everything technical, procedural, but not really on the crux of the matter. They weren't really touching on the actual complaint. And when it comes to, the level of intensity in this matter, do you believe that this was a difficult issue to decide, or could it have been done so long ago?
It was a perfectly simple matter. It could and should have been dealt with 12 years ago. It's common cause. There's no dispute about the fact that the conversation took place between Judge Hlophe, first with Judge Jafta, thereafter with Judge Kabinda. There's no dispute about the fact that he volunteered a discussion about the cases against Mr. Zuma and the French company. What was said and why it was said is a perfectly straightforward issue of fact, and could and should have been dealt with many, many years ago. Technicalities, Stalingrad defense mechanisms should not have been allowed to delay the resolution of a perfectly straightforward issue of fact.
What does this case mean for the judicial, system and the trust that, South Africans will have in the system, considering the length that it's taken and the processes that are now getting underway?
There has been untold harm done. The country is entitled to expect its judiciary to be honest, to be beyond reproach. Not geniuses, but honest people doing their jobs. When there is a serious complaint against a judge, that complaint should be dealt with publicly, expeditiously, fairly. That has not been done. The Judicial Service Commission has failed in its constitutional duty to ensure the integrity of the judiciary. Let's hope now at last the job will be done.
And what does this mean, the outcome, depending on which way it would sway, for Judge Johann Hlophe himself?
Well, that's if the tribunal finds that the judge has actually committed a gross misconduct, it must report to the full Judicial Service Commission, which must then decide whether to take the matter to Parliament for the judge to be dismissed from office. The Judicial Service Commission can decide, as they did in the case of Judge Motata, to give him a slap on the wrist instead of going for an impeachment process. And of course, the tribunal could find him not guilty. Those are the possibilities at this stage.
You say that this was by no means a difficult issue to decide. It shouldn't have taken more than a decade. What are the challenges that are really at the forefront of this matter as it resumes today?
I really don't want to talk about the merits of the dispute at the moment. I don't think it would be fair to the tribunal. I would rather watch what they are doing as closely as one is permitted to do under the circumstances with the lockdown as it is.
And very, very lastly, before we let you go, what sort of precedent would this outcome set for the judicial system? I mean, you've spoken about what would happen to Judge President Judge Hlophe, depending on which way this sways. But what would it speak to when it comes to the judicial system in South Africa?
It will, I trust, restore some confidence in the process. I trust that the tribunal will conduct the proceedings in a manner that will restore confidence. Whatever they do, it is vital that the public see that this matter is dealt with finally, firmly and fairly. I think that the tribunal can be trusted to do that.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. Judge Kriegler there giving us a sense of the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, which is hearing evidence today in a complaint against Western Cape Judge President Judge Hlophe.